I'd been in love with Sophia for 12 years. I watched as she went through boyfriend after boyfriend. When everyone thought I might finally be the one to make the heartbreaker settle down, she blocked me for another man. A little over a month later, she stood in the middle of a sea of roses, cheeks flushed, asking if I could give her another chance. I pulled a bright red wedding invitation from my bag and handed it to her with a smile. I'm getting married next week. I hope you can make it. 1. Sophia dropped a message in our childhood friends group chat. Meet at the usual spot tonight. I've got something to announce. Hunter, my closest friend, joked right away. Whoa, making it official now. The heartbreaker's finally settling down. It wasn't the first time someone teased her like that. Usually, Sophia would laugh and tell him to shut up. But this time she only replied, yeah. Just one word, but it dropped like a boulder into a still lake, sending waves through the group chat. The chat, which had been quiet, instantly blew up. Holy crap. Did I read that right? The Queen of Flings is going legit. Is Ryan finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel? Let me guess, no new flings lately, no mystery guys. The boyfriend has got to be Ryan. About time. After all those years of pining, congrats, man. My thing for Sophia was never a secret. Everyone knew I treated her differently, openly, obviously, constantly. And Sophia always saved her softest, most patient side for me. She didn't say anything else in the chat, almost like she was silently confirming what everyone was guessing. And honestly, after all these years, even with all her boyfriends, I was always the one untouchable line she never crossed. Anyone would have thought my long wait had finally paid off. 2. Sophia had set the time and place, but she was the last to show up. Trailing behind her was a shy, awkward-looking guy. He looked young, but he was handsome. Maybe it was the unfamiliar environment, or all the unfamiliar faces, but he looked nervous. Exactly like I did 12 years ago when I was first brought into this circle. The room, which had been buzzing with chatter, suddenly went quiet. Everyone just stared as Sophia turned and linked arms with the guy. Let me introduce you. This is my boyfriend, Carter. As she spoke, her gaze stayed on Carter the whole time. Eyes soft, lips curved. She looked every bit like a girl head over heels. Maybe sensing the awkward vibe, Carter gave a nervous little smile and waved. His voice was clean, a little shy. Hi, nice to meet you. Hunter was the first to snap out of it. He forced a laugh. Well, damn, you really kept that quiet. When did this happen? He kept glancing at me as he spoke. He hid it well, but we'd known each other long enough. I could tell he was worried. Worried I'd lose it? Or just worried I couldn't take it? I lowered my eyes and swirled the drink in my glass. My head was empty, but the bitterness in my mouth kept growing. Sophia and I had always been more than friends, but never quite lovers. She never gave me the right to be openly jealous. So what right did I have to make a scene? 3. Over the years, Sophia dated plenty of guys, switching them out like seasons. But she never once formally introduced one to us. This move, it spoke volumes. We all understood. She snuggled closer into Carter's side and smiled. We've been together a little over 2 months. Carter's a little shy. Don't scare him off. 12 years ago, it was the same group, the same line. Ryan's a little shy, go easy on him. Back then, I just moved from a tiny town in Georgia to a big fancy house near DC. My accent was thick and the others mocked me for it. It was Sophia who took my hand and pulled me into the group. I was 14. That girl who smiled so brightly and chased away all my fear and confusion became my light. Afraid I'd be hurt, everyone kept their reactions subtle. After all, we'd known each other for over a decade. In matters of the heart, they naturally leaned toward me over Carter. Most of them had already assumed I'd end up with Sophia. The room went quiet. Carter looked even more out of place. He tugged gently at Sophia's sleeve and whispered, Babe, I don't think they really want me here. I heard him call her that and frowned slightly. Something about it rubbed me the wrong way. 4. Back when Sophia and I were teens, her favorite prank was sneak attacking me from behind. She'd steal whatever I was holding, or leap onto my back and wrap her arms around my neck, demanding, Call me big sis. She was only 2 months older than me, but always full of mischief and relentless. In the end, I always gave in. She wouldn't let me go until I blushed and reluctantly muttered, Big sis. Back then, she was still a little immature. In front of other guys, she kept up her princess act. Sophia was just about to comfort Carter when a loud crash came from the corner. A glass cup had been flung to the ground. It was Liam, the one who always clashed with me. He stood there, face tight with anger, voice sharp. "Sophia, what the hell have you taken Ryan for all these years?" Sophia's expression darkened. She glanced around the room and finally locked eyes with me. Then she said quietly, lips barely moving, "I don't know what you're all misunderstanding here, but I've only ever seen Ryan as a little brother." 5. Just a little brother? Huh? I guess she forgot. Last year, when we all got together for New Year's, Hunter brought fireworks and called us out to set them off. She sat lazily beside me, tugged on my arm and laughed. "Nope, Ryan's staying here with me." Someone teased. "Since when did Ryan become yours?" She tossed a mandarin at them and laughed even harder. "Since forever. Ryan is my lover." And now, just 6 months later, she can look me dead in the eye and calmly call me her little brother. I placed a hand over my chest, pressing lightly. Yeah, it hurt. Felt awful. But not as bad as I'd imagined. Strangely, it even felt like closure, like I'd finally gotten my answer. It was like when I was 14 and mailed what I thought was a brilliant short story to my favorite magazine. For 12 years, there was no reply. And then one day, a rejection letter showed up. And I just thought, oh, okay, got it. Turns out that in the long wait, all the passion and hope I had at the beginning had already faded. That's what my feelings for Sophia had become. It's not that I stopped loving her. I just stopped expecting anything. So whatever the outcome, it no longer had the power to break me. 6. Liam was about to speak up for me again, but I stopped him. He shot me a glare and muttered, "Useless," then stormed out, slamming the door behind him. At that point, it didn't feel right to keep hanging around either. I grabbed my phone off the table and followed after him. Just as I reached for the door handle, Sophia called out to me, "Ryan, come back." I turned and gave her a smile. "Big sis, you guys have fun. I'm gonna check on Liam." It was the first time in all these years I'd actually called her that out loud, and I said it with ease. Funny thing was, she didn't look happy about it at all. Her face froze and then darkened. She repeated more forcefully, "Come back." But this time I didn't listen. As I pushed the door open and stepped outside, I heard another crash. More glasses shattering. Then the door shut behind me, cutting off the noise inside. 7. Saying I was checking on Liam was just an excuse to leave. Liam and I had never gotten along. Back in school, he'd pelt me with balls during gym, cut up my art projects in class, hide my textbooks, even leave caterpillars in my desk. As we got older, that mutual dislike only got worse. Even though he stood up for me tonight, I had no intention of patching things up. I was planning to head straight home, but just as I reached the gate, I saw him leaning against the wall, smoking. When he noticed me, he stubbed out the cigarette and tossed it in the trash. "I came with Hunter. You heading home now? Mind giving me a lift?" I sighed. I couldn't bring myself to say no. After 12 years hanging with the same crew, this was one of the rare times Liam and I were alone without arguing. I dropped him off outside his house, but he didn't get out. After a moment, he finally spoke. "That Carter kid. He reminds me of how you used to be." So what? Even if he did, he wasn't me. And I wasn't him. I didn't want to keep the conversation going, so I opened the car door and waved him out. He got mad and yelled something, but I just tapped the gas and pulled into the next driveway. Our house was right next to Liam's, and next to ours, Sophia's. Everyone who lived in this neighborhood was either rich or connected. 8. I just parked the car when Liam called me. "Check WeChat," he said. I opened the app and saw the group chat flooded with digital red envelopes. Sophia had just added Carter to the group. Everyone was sending her money to congratulate her on her new relationship. I sent a red envelope too, but the moment it went through, I was kicked out of the group. Seconds later, I got a direct message from her. "Sorry, Ryan. Your presence makes Carter uncomfortable. Let's not contact each other for a while." My lips pressed into a tight line. It felt like someone had just socked me in the chest. After a few seconds, I typed a reply. "Okay." But when I hit send, a red exclamation mark popped up. Message not delivered. Sophia had deleted me. 12 years of shared memories from teenage years to adulthood, all lost to a 2-month romance. I stared at that little red icon, stunned. My eyes stung, but no tears came. The old Sophia used to giggle and cling to my arm, saying, "Ryan, besides my parents, no one in this world is more important than you." Now she was telling me, "You make Carter uncomfortable. Let's stop talking." What a joke. 9. I loved Sophia, but I never clung to her, never crossed any lines. I didn't even flirt or make suggestive jokes. Every time I heard she had a new boyfriend, I'd quietly pull back. I didn't want my feelings to become a burden to her. But the moment I put some distance between us, she'd get upset. Her first boyfriend? One of my college roommates, a guy who knew exactly how I felt about her. The two of them walked up to me hand in hand, and my roommate gave me a bright smile. It was like he'd forgotten all the nights we'd gotten drunk together. With total sincerity, he said, "Ryan, thanks. I never would have landed Sophia without you." The wind was strong that day. I stood stiffly under the trees outside the library, feeling like a damn fool. That's when I realized he'd gotten close to me from the start, not to be friends, but because I was Sophia's way in. I mean, a guy like that, fit, good-looking, from a rich family, what teenage girl wouldn't fall for him? So I cut him off. And I distanced myself from Sophia too. Their relationship lasted all of 3 days. When he came back, he lost it. His eyes were red when he snapped at me. Sophia dumped me. Happy now. I was confused, I hadn't done anything. But since he asked, I figured I'd be honest. Yeah, I'm happy. 10. That night, Sophia dragged me out for a fancy dinner. She joked with a grin. "You've been ignoring me for 3 days now. Don't be mad anymore, okay?" I replied seriously, "I'm not mad. It's just, you're in a relationship now. We should keep a bit of distance. It's better for everyone." But I only agreed to give him a shot because you two were close. If Ryan likes someone, I'll like them too. If Ryan doesn't, then I won't either. She said it so matter-of-factly. After that, whenever she dated, she always avoided guys who had anything to do with me. She wouldn't even bring them around us. But in a city like Austin, where the upper social circle isn't that big, running into mutual acquaintances was pretty common. So even if she never told me herself, word about her dating always made its way to me eventually. At holiday dinners, someone would always tease her. "You've dated so many guys. When are you gonna bring one for us to meet?" She'd drop a shrimp into my bowl, then casually steal the peeled one I'd just prepared, brushing it off with a smile. Not at that level yet. Some of her boyfriends even added me on social media. Some begged, some cursed, all asking me to stay away from Sophia. After enough of that, I finally understood. Even if I did nothing, just existing was already a problem. So when she said Carter was uncomfortable and wanted to cut ties, I respected her choice. But why kick me out of the group chat? It wasn't just Carter and me in there. Our closest friends of 12 years were too. My phone kept ringing with calls. I declined them, replying one by one that I was fine, telling them not to worry. Then I lit a cigarette and stared at the way it burned. They say real men don't cry. But when your emotions are at the brink of collapse, even kindness can break you. I was afraid if anyone said something nice, I might lose it. 11. About an hour later, Hunter kicked my door open. When he saw me sitting there in one piece, he scratched his head awkwardly. "Dude, I thought you might do something stupid. Just came to check." I shot him a glare but didn't say anything. A few minutes passed before he asked carefully, "Ryan, maybe Sophia's just confused right now. I mean, we all see it, how much Carter reminds her of." He didn't finish, but I knew what he meant. Carter reminded her of the old me. I frowned slightly and didn't answer him directly. "Hunter, I think I want to go back and visit my grandma's place." 12. When my mom was pregnant with me, my dad's business hit a rough patch and almost went bankrupt. They brought in a feng shui master, who said the bad luck came from her pregnancy, that I was born with a cursed fate and would drag down the family's fortune. But by then my mom was already 9 months along. It was too late to do anything. So the day I was born, I was sent away to live with my grandmother in the South. She gave me the name Ryan. She said it meant she hoped I'd grow up safe and peaceful. But when I was 14, she passed away. And I was left completely alone. Back then I thought, well, at least I still had Sophia. Even if we weren't lovers, at least I'd always be her first choice. That seemed like enough. But reality slapped me hard. Teen. I arrived during the rainy season. The misty streets of Savannah were soaked in a quiet drizzle. I held an umbrella, walking down the familiar old stone path. At the end of it was a weathered 3-story house, my home for 14 years. My mom always called Grandma a stubborn old woman. She married into a wealthy family, but Grandma refused to move out of her little country home. But that stubborn old woman gave me the happiest childhood. The rain wasn't heavy. A few vendors pedaled slowly through the alleys on tricycles, speakers blaring, "Fresh bayberries, sweet bayberries." From a townhouse nearby, a man came out with an umbrella, stopping one of the vendors. When he saw me by the side of the road, he called out in surprise, "Ryan, what are you doing back? It's not the Memorial date yet." I forced a smile. Just missed home. Thought I'd stay a few days. He glanced at my suitcase, a flash of concern in his eyes. "You came back all alone? That house has been empty forever. And with all this rain, it must be damp as hell. How about you stay at our place for now? Zoe's always away anyway. You'd be good company for me." Then, without waiting for an answer, he grabbed my suitcase and cheerfully pulled me toward the townhouse. 14. He put me in Zoe's room. Watching him run around trying to make me feel at home, I finally understood what it meant to be treated with too much kindness to refuse. I tried saying no several times, but he just looked hurt and asked, "What, our place too shabby for you?" So I gave in. Zoe's room was simple but spotless. What stood out most was a huge bookshelf, neatly arranged with books, models, trophies, and certificates. Totally on brand for the straight-A student she always was. She was 2 years older than me. We weren't close, but we weren't strangers either. Aside from growing up in the same neighborhood, we also went to the same college. She got in on a full scholarship. I slipped through thanks to local residency benefits. That night Liam called me. His voice was muffled over the phone. "Hunter said you went back down south?" "Yeah," I replied. There was a long pause. Then I heard him mutter, "You could have told me." I was thinking of getting away for a bit too. After all those years of awkward boyish tension, I could more or less guess Liam's feelings for Sophia. I stood by the window, looking out at the steady rain, and rejected him without hesitation. "No. You and we're not made for that brothers for life kind of drama." Liam gritted his teeth, swore, and hung up on me. 15. It rained all night, but by morning the skies had cleared. I originally planned to visit my grandma's grave. As I opened the front door, I nearly bumped into Zoe, just returning dusty from travel. A breeze swept through, carrying the earthy scent of wet soil and lifting the hem of her long dress. She had grown, no longer the quiet, shy girl I remembered, but a graceful, composed young woman. Zoe paused, something flickering in her eyes, emotions I couldn't quite read. "It's been a while," she said, her voice just as clear and pleasant as I remembered. I gave her a small smile. "Yeah, it has." Now that the room's rightful owner was back, I had no reason to stay. I said my goodbyes to Zoe's dad. He frowned and thought for a moment. "You've been gone so long, and your grandma's place is probably pretty bare. How about this? Zoe can move in with you for a while. She can help you out." I was just about to turn him down when Zoe cut in. "Sure. I'll help clean up first," she added. 16. It wasn't exactly ideal for an unmarried man and woman to live under the same roof, but I couldn't talk them out of it. So I went back with Zoe. Even though no one had lived there for a while, I'd paid someone to maintain and repair the house every year. Aside from some dust, it wasn't in bad shape. After we finished cleaning, I sat on the front steps, zoning out. The sky, freshly washed by the rain, was bright and clear. Fluffy white clouds drifted across a deep blue backdrop. It was a view you'd almost never get back in smoggy DC. Zoe handed me a bottle of water. I looked up and smiled. "What brings you back all of a sudden?" She smiled too. "My dad tricked me into it." Then she looked at me. "What about you?" There was no doubt, Zoe was beautiful. The soft sunlight bathed her in a golden glow. Unlike Sophia's striking, bold looks, Zoe was gentle and refined, with the air of someone raised on books. I looked away and thought for a moment, then gave her the most fitting answer. "To heal." 17. Life in the countryside moved slowly. Eventually, I adjusted to the polite, peaceful rhythm of living with Zoe. She was an ideal roommate, always thoughtful. Afraid I'd get bored, she brought over stacks of books to keep me occupied. One day, she even showed up with a little puppy that looked just like the one my grandma used to keep. I crouched down, petting the dog, overwhelmed by a wave of emotion. Zoe stood quietly by my side. After a long while, I heard her say softly, "Ryan, are you hurting?" That question so familiar. It unlocked a flood of memories buried deep in time. Back when I was a kid, the other village kids used to call me a stray, a bastard without parents. I was small and sensitive, and I'd always hide somewhere to cry alone. But Zoe would always find me. She'd pat my head gently and ask, "Ryan, are you hurting?" Over time, fewer and fewer people picked on me. Until one day, I saw Zoe corner a kid who'd thrown rocks at me and beat him up in a dead-end alley. This skinny little girl had turned herself into a warrior, just to protect me. Come to think of it, before I moved away, I was really attached to Zoe. So when did we drift apart? 18. A few days later, Hunter sent me a short video. In it, Sophia was sitting on the floor clutching a bottle of liquor, drunkenly repeating, "Ryan, Ryan." Next to her, Carter looked frustrated, his expression dark. Under the video were two messages. "Ryan, when are you coming back? Sophia's drunk and keeps asking for you. She's at Cloud Bay right now making a scene. We seriously don't know what to do." Cloud Bay was the same high-end club we used to go to, the one we called the usual spot. Sophia always drank too much when she went out. And every time she did, I was the only one who could get her to leave without a fuss. Even completely drunk, she always recognized me. Once I asked her if she wasn't afraid of mistaking me for someone else. She giggled and said, "No way. There's only one Ryan in the world." 19. It was these kinds of small, seemingly trivial moments that kept me in love with her for 12 years. You don't hold on that long without a little hope, right? I replied to the message, "Don't tell me about her anymore." Right after I sent it, Hunter called. I hesitated, then picked up. "Hey Ryan," he said. "Sophia hasn't been doing great lately." He hadn't even finished when I heard someone yelling in the background, "Sophia, stop it. Give me back my phone." Then her voice came through the speaker, slurred and tearful. "Hello? Ryan. When are you coming to get me? I wasn't feeling well a few days ago. And you didn't come. I haven't seen you in so long." Her voice got smaller and shakier as she went on, until it cracked a little. "Ryan, I miss you. I didn't think. I just hung up." 20. Later that night, Carter sent me a friend request. He said he had something to show me. I had no interest in whatever he wanted to share, but he kept trying. By the 20th request, I finally accepted. He sent me a photo. Sophia, eyes closed, hair loose and wild, lay on a hotel bed like a seductive siren. Carter was lying beside her. "Ryan, I know you liked her. But Sophia told me herself. What she felt for you was just family and habit. She said the only one she's ever loved is me. Tonight, she only drank and called you because she saw me talking to another girl and got jealous. I hope you won't take it the wrong way." I scrolled through his message, long and self-assured, and felt nothing but disinterest. Whatever I'd felt, those 12 years of love, had ended the moment she kicked me out of the group chat. It turns out falling out of love wasn't as hard as I thought it'd be. I replied calmly, "Cool. Wish you two the best." 21. It rained for several more days without pause. Zoe liked to brew a pot of tea and sit by the window, writing or sketching at her little desk. I'd curl up on the couch with a book in hand. The puppy she'd given me, whom I'd named Pudding, would quietly curl up at my feet. Over time, Zoe and I grew much closer. Outside, the rain fell gently. Inside, there was the soft scratch of her pen on paper, the occasional rustle of pages from my book. Together, they formed a quiet symphony that brought one phrase to mind: peace in the present, calm through the years. Then a sudden frantic knock shattered the stillness. At the door was Zoe's neighbor, panic written all over his face. "Zoe, your dad just collapsed. You need to come now." Zoe's hand froze mid-motion. Her slender frame swayed slightly before she bolted out the door like a gust of wind. Quickly followed. Zoe's dad had always looked out for me and Grandma. Back when she was still alive, he'd helped us constantly. Even recently, he often brought homemade food over for us. 22. Zoe's father was lying in bed, his face pale and sickly. Zoe frowned and asked, "Dad, how are you feeling? Should we go to the hospital?" Even though she was trying to keep calm, her voice was trembling. He glanced at me, then let out a long sigh. I wasn't planning to tell you yet. He motioned for me to come closer, then fumbled under his pillow and pulled out a folded piece of paper. I don't have much time left. Zoe is the one thing I can't stop worrying about. Ryan, I know you're a good kid. I'd like to entrust her to you. The paper in my hands clearly stated, late-stage cancer. Zoe snatched the document away. Her brows furrowed deeper as she read. After a long silence, she said quietly, maybe it's a misdiagnosis. We'll go check again in a few days. 23. Even though she said that, Zoe grew quieter with each passing day. It used to be her finding me when I hid away to cry. Now it was me who sought out the corners where she wept alone. Whenever I found her, she'd quickly lift her chin, red-nosed and glassy-eyed. Seeing her like that made my chest ache. If you want to cry, just cry. You don't have to hold it in. I sat beside her and, after a moment's hesitation, slowly placed my hand on her head, just like she used to do for me, gently stroking my hair. June was nearly over. Maybe it was the heavy mood, but the summer felt hotter than ever. I came back this time because my dad said he was sick, she said, staring up at the sky, voice choked. But when I got home, he brushed it off with a joke. I really thought he was just lying. I sat quietly listening. Right now, she didn't need a conversation. She just needed someone who would stay. Ryan, thank you for everything these past few days. And don't take my dad's words too seriously. I'm not your responsibility. You have no obligation to take care of me. And you shouldn't throw away your future just because of some old friendship. What she really meant was, you shouldn't marry me just because my father asked you to. I looked out into the distance and stayed silent for a long time. Over the past weeks, I couldn't quite define what I felt for Zoe. But being with her felt easy, even when we weren't talking or doing anything at all. When she cried, I wanted to take the pain away. It didn't feel like a burden. If anything, it felt comforting, even hopeful. After a long pause, I heard myself say, Zoe, let's get married. 24. Before I turned 14, my parents were practically strangers, people I only saw during holidays. After I turned 14, they became relatives who only called to ask if I had enough spending money. Did they love me? I think they did. But 14 years apart had made it hard for them to connect with me. Whenever I saw my mom laughing and hugging my 5-year younger brother, I would repeat the same thought to myself. They just don't know how to be close to me. When I told my mom I was getting married, the only thing she asked was what kind of family the girl came from. As soon as I gave her the basic info, she agreed. The wedding was set for just over a month later. Zoe wanted to keep it simple. I refused. I couldn't give her a luxurious wedding, but whatever other brides had, she would have too. If I'd made up my mind to marry her, I wouldn't let her feel even the slightest bit wronged. 25. After finalizing the wedding details, we headed home together. A blue Pagani Huayra was parked in front of the house. Hunter stepped out, face drawn with exhaustion. Dark circles under his eyes, unshaven chin. He clearly drove through the night. He glanced at Zoe standing beside me, his brow furrowed. She's the one you're marrying? He was the only friend I'd told about the wedding. I nodded. His face darkened even more. Ryan, we need to talk. Zoe, ever considerate, gave us space without needing to be asked. Hunter watched her go, then turned back to me with a scowl. You sure about this? I followed his gaze, then quietly replied, yeah, I'm sure. 26. Hunter let out a sigh and tried to reason with me. Ryan, marriage isn't a game. You loved Sophia for so many years. I don't believe you just fell for someone else this fast. Sophia hurt you. But that doesn't give you the right to hurt someone else. Ask yourself honestly, do you even like Zoe? His words caught me off guard. Scenes from the past few weeks with Zoe flashed through my mind. Our life together had been simple but peaceful. She didn't talk much, but every morning when I woke up, breakfast was already on the table, made by her. She wore this ridiculously cute cartoon apron that didn't match her calm personality, smiling as she told me to wash up and eat. Little Pudding would wag his tail, circling around her feet. Just her and the dog filling the house with warmth. Suddenly everything made sense. I turned and patted Hunter's shoulder, answering with quiet certainty. Don't worry. I would never hurt Zoe. Do I like her? I think I really do. 27. After Hunter left, I threw myself into wedding preparations. The date was fast approaching, and there was a lot to get done. Hunter still messaged me every few days. Sometimes he even brought up Sophia. He said she got drunk and Carter took advantage of her, using compromising photos to force her into marriage. It became a huge scandal, ended up in the news. Her grandfather was furious and ordered her to step down from the company and reflect at home. Sophia had always been a pampered princess. She had never suffered anything like this. With all the pressure, she started drinking again. And every time she got drunk, she'd shout and cry about wanting to see me. No one could stop her. Hunter didn't tell me all this directly. It was Liam who sent the messages. Liam, after everything you two have been through, can't you forgive her just this once? Doesn't it hurt to see her like this? I didn't reply. Does it hurt? 12 years. She always knew how I felt. Yet she kept stringing me along while dating other people. Did anyone ever wonder if I was hurting? Sophia had tried to add me back on social media more times than I could count. She called from different numbers, all of which I blocked. Ever since she kicked me out of the group chat for Carter, we couldn't even be friends anymore. Some wounds can't be undone. When feelings are shattered, putting them back together isn't that simple. Especially now that I have Zoe. 28. The next time I saw Sophia was over a month later. Liam messaged me, saying he was in the county nearby, and asked to meet on the busiest shopping street. Right before leaving, I stuffed a stack of wedding invitations into my bag. I figured I could ask him to pass them out. The wedding was almost fully planned. Zoe's father's health had declined, but he still looked genuinely happy. Maybe our wedding was the only bright spot in an otherwise gray stretch of days. That day, the street was full of people. The flower beds on both sides overflowed with red roses, decorated with balloons and ribbons. 2 teenage girls walked by, chatting excitedly. Wow, which rich guy is proposing? This is so romantic. I heard it's actually a girl confessing to someone. There's a sea of roses up ahead, all flown in by air. Someone even spotted a small plane this morning. So extra. Let's go see it. The crowd surged forward, right in the direction Liam had told me to meet him. I frowned slightly. I had a feeling what this might be. A few days ago, word had it Sophia's family paid Carter $5 million to leave. Once he realized marrying into money was off the table, he took the cash and walked. I grabbed my bag and followed the crowd. 29. Just as I suspected, the crowd was gathered near the cafe where we were supposed to meet. The rose display stretched across the intersection. People packed in layer after layer. From the crowd, I kept hearing exclamations. Wow! The girl in the middle holding the bouquet is gorgeous. And the guys around her are all so handsome. I like the one on the right, he looks wild like a bad boy. Totally my type. This looks like a scene straight out of a romance novel. Beautiful heroine and her squad of hot knights. I need to know who the guy is. What kind of guy makes a goddess like that confess in public? Liam was waiting at the edge of the crowd. When he saw me, he lit up and dragged me forward. Make way, make way. The leading man is here. People stepped aside as if on cue, creating a path. At the end stood Sophia, nervous and hopeful, holding a massive bouquet of Juliet roses. Liam let go of my hand and gently nudged me toward her. Maybe, in the end, he loved Sophia more than I ever did. 30. Ryan, Sophia called softly, her flawless face tinged pink. She stepped toward me slowly, amid the crowd's cheers and whistles. Behind her, our childhood friends all wore encouraging smiles. Except for Hunter. He leaned against a wall with arms crossed, looking completely unimpressed. When he saw me, he raised an eyebrow, drawing shrieks from the girls nearby. Sophia bit her lip, shyly holding the bouquet out to me. Ryan, I'm sorry. I know what I did was unforgivable. But when you left, I realized you meant way more to me than I ever thought. Will you give me another chance? Let me make it up to you. I looked down, opened my bag, and pulled out a wedding invitation. I handed it to her with a calm smile. I'm getting married next week. I hope you'll come. 31. Sophia froze. The expensive roses in her hands slipped to the ground, petals scattering everywhere. She stammered, Ryan, don't joke like that. This isn't funny. As she spoke, her eyes turned red. I ignored her. I walked around her, handing out invitations to the others who were still frozen in shock. Hope you can make it to the wedding. Only my parents and Hunter had known I was getting married. Clearly, they hadn't spread the news. Sophia suddenly lunged forward and snatched the invitations I had just handed out. She tore them to shreds and threw them on the ground. With teary eyes, she glared at me. Ryan, I said this joke isn't funny. I hadn't expected her to react so aggressively. Still crying, she started tearing up every invitation from my bag and tried to drag me away by the arm. I pulled free. With a faint smile, I said, "There's still a lot to do for the wedding. My fiancé's waiting for me. I won't keep you." 32. 2 days later, Sophia bought the house next door. A flashy limited edition Koenigsegg parked in front of the old neighborhood stood out like a sore thumb. She waited at my door every day, begging me to give her another chance. Eventually, I lost my patience. I glared at her and said coldly, "I'm getting married soon. Please stop showing up and making a scene." She bit her lip hard. Her eyes turned red in an instant. A moment later, she slowly crouched to the ground, hugging her head, and started sobbing. "Ryan, I know I was wrong. Please, just one more chance. I'm begging you. Please, Ryan, don't be so cruel." The once proud heiress had humbled herself completely just to beg me to come back. Watching her curled up on the ground, crying uncontrollably, I felt nothing. Cruel? Then I might as well be cruel to the end. I leaned down slightly and said, "Sorry, Sophia. Your presence makes Zoe uncomfortable. Let's not stay in touch." The words she once gave me, I was just giving them back. 33. The wedding happened on schedule. Outside the venue, a long line of wedding cars waited. Just before getting in, I saw Sophia standing at the gate. She wore a pristine white wedding dress and full flawless makeup. I ignored her and lowered my head to get into the car. She rushed forward and grabbed my arm. Her clear voice was hoarse, as if it had been ground down by sand and stone. "Ryan, is this your revenge on me?" Her eyes were red as she tried to smile. "You can punish me however you want. Just don't marry someone else, okay?" I looked at her calmly and replied, "No, it's not revenge. I'm marrying Zoe because I want to marry her." Tears slipped down her cheeks. She gripped my sleeve tighter. But you don't love her, do you?" I gently pushed her hand away and gave her a light smile. "If I didn't love her, I wouldn't marry her. Sophia, after all these years, you should know me better than that." With that, I got in the car without looking back. The wedding convoy pulled away. Even from the rearview mirror, I could still see her figure, standing there all alone in her white dress. Like a parody of a wedding. A scene that felt more like a farce than a dream. 34. Married life didn't change much. To better take care of Zoe's father, we moved back into the townhouse. She slept in the bed. I took the floor. Until I was sure of her feelings, I wanted to give her full respect. Hunter still checked in from time to time, just casual chats asking how things were. He never brought up Sophia again. I learned about her father being ousted from the board through the news. Carter had always been ruthless, just lacked a sense of legality. He'd copied several confidential bits from Sophia's files and sold them to competitors. Business is war. Their company was caught off guard and suffered heavy losses. In desperation, Sophia's father had to sell his shares to fill the financial gap. Though he managed to send Carter to jail, he was no longer the major shareholder. Since Sophia had caused the disaster, the board, already dissatisfied with her father, took the chance to strip him of power completely. I watched the news with a sense of quiet irony. I didn't ask about what happened after. Call it karma. A daughter's mistakes paid for by the father. 35. In the end, Zoe's father didn't make it through the winter. Zoe handled everything calmly. Too calmly. So calm it hurt to watch. She'd grown up with her dad, just the two of them. Their bond was incredibly deep. Maybe it was because she never had a mother. Maybe that's why when she saw a boy like me, bullied and abandoned, she cared for me so much. 6 months into our marriage, I held her for the first time. She curled up in my arms, sobbing uncontrollably. "Ryan, I don't have a dad anymore." I gently patted her back, my own throat tight. "You still have me. I'll stay by your side always. Zoe, from here on out, let's walk through life together." supporting each other, and keeping each other warm. 36. We stayed in the southern town for a while after her father passed. But now it was time to return to the city. While packing, Pudding ran over and dropped an old notebook at my feet, looking proud. The cover was dusty and webbed. No telling where he'd found it. Curious, I opened it. Inside were pages and pages of scattered notes. A girl's private confessions of a years-long crush. So, in all those years I had no idea. There was a gentle, quiet girl who had been silently loving me all along. Zoe walked in after finishing her packing. She asked if I needed help, and happened to catch me flipping through the diary. "You saw it?" she asked, blushing with a hint of panic. I looked up, blinked away the moisture in my eyes, and smiled at her. What a coincidence. I like you too. There was no whirlwind, no dramatic romance between us. But marriage isn't about grand gestures. It's about the little things, the quiet life. And who's to say that isn't love too?